literally by myself in my house. And I'm shaking right now. And he goes, some really great news for you. Of course, you have cancer, but it did not spread anywhere. And so I just want you to know that, and I want you to be able to get through the weekend taking a deep breath and knowing that we are going to be able to cure you. And he goes, our treatment plan, if it had spread, we would treat you. And we have a good treatment plan, but we can't cure stage 4. Stage 3,
doable.
We can do that. So I just want you to know, I know that, this is a hard road and this is very difficult, but I did not want you to have to wait all weekend. So I started crying on the phone. He was like, I'll talk to you next week if you have any questions. But he was like, again, just felt so like he was just so wonderful for just taking that moment. I mean, he stopped what he was doing. He was in the OR, taking that moment of time to give me that information. And so Brian walked in the house and I am just like a mess crying. And he was like, what happened? I'm like, the doctor called, and he ran up the stairs thinking it was bad.
Yeah.
We were prepared for bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he sees you crying.
Yeah. And he sees me crying. And I told him. And it was like, we finally got a break. Like we got a break because everything leading up to this for weeks was just not good. It was not good news. And so this was a break. And he goes, that's what we were asking for. We're just asking for a break. We got a break. Called my mom. My mom cried. I don't think I've ever heard my mom cry in my years, all my years, crying on the phone. Just so happy. And it was really a turning point of now my mindset going, okay, somebody heard me say I wanted more time. Somebody heard my cry for help that I needed more time. I can't leave my kids. Like I can't, if I can do this. Like I got what I asked for this. I asked for a break. Just give me one little glimmer of a break. I got it. So I could do this. The rest, my mindset changed. Everything changed because I felt like, okay.
Yeah.
I got what I asked for. I mean, obviously nobody wants to be on the phone with a doctor going through this, but the bottom line is all I asked was for more time and to have a break. And I was given that. And so I will do what I need to do. Whatever that is, whatever tests come, whatever it is, I'm going to have a good mindset and I'm going to move forward. And, it was lots more tests, treatment plan. And it was basically like a year. It was a year and a couple surgeries, big surgeries. And each thing was, definitely met with its own things.
Mm-hmm.
But I always felt that was the turning point. Like that was where I was like, no, I could do this. We're gonna figure this out. I'm not gonna be angry anymore. Because all those nights I sat there in my bed just going, I just need more time. I need a break. I just need a break. I need to have like one piece of good test result, good news, something to come. And I got it. And so I was just like, okay, let's just do this. Let's do it. And so did low dose chemotherapy with radiation to shrink the tumor. The tumor was actually really big. And then to get radiation, they have to do all of this process, right? It usually takes like 2 to 3 weeks. And we're now coming in on February. And my radiologist or my doctor, he's like, so it's a process because they have to measure because it's very specific where they hit you with the radiation because the radiation is not good for your body.
Yeah.
And so you think about where this tumor is, it's got to go through like your bladder and like all, like especially for a female, all that's like right there in your abdomen. So he's like, we have to be very precise with measuring you. So I'm going to all these appointments. They're measuring me. They're tattooing me to get like the exact spots. Well, all the while I was told from my other doctor, because I have now a team of doctors, you've got to be really careful because that tumor is almost blocking completely
Your intestine.
Oh. And so I'm just telling you to just be very careful and we've got to really expedite this because if it completely blocks, your intestines will rupture. And that will be an incredible emergency. And so every single day that's going by, I'm like, can we get this going? Like, I know there's I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but I'm like calling the office. I'm like, all right, so I did the tattooing yesterday. When can we get this? Because you don't even want to eat.
Yep.
You don't, I'm like, I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything because I don't want that. Like, that's scary. That is super, super scary. And they don't know when that's going to be. But he was like, you've got to be very careful. Like, you've got to eat just little bits and really, like, just be very careful. If anything changes, if you feel like, you're having trouble going to the bathroom, you need to call because we cannot have this happen. It would just completely change the course of what we can do.
Right.
So finally get into to do my radiation, my chemotherapy. It's all a mind trip because chemotherapy, they send you the medication. It's in a bag inside another bag with a label on it that says caution. Like when I'm talking poison, it's basically has every possible indicator
label.
And it says like, and you have to like make sure when you take it out and you put these pills in your body that by the way are like super labeled that it's poison. You have to wash your hands multiple times. When you pee, you have to flush twice because it comes out in your pee. I mean, so you're thinking like, of course you're grateful because modern medicine and, this is going to help you. But then you're tripping because you're like, here I get organic produce and I pay more for it because of the freaking chemicals. And now I'm putting poison in my body. They're labeled it poison. I don't smoke cigarettes because, well, geez, it causes cancer and there's poison in there.
And here you are.
And here I am with this bag with a big orange label on it that says poison. And make sure you wash your hands and you don't touch anybody and nobody touches this pill bottle. And like it was just sheets and sheets of information of caution of how to handle these pills. And it's like, so your mind is just like, what am I doing? And then you're feeling kind of ill.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't lose my hair, which was awesome. It kind of depends on the cancer treatment and what the medicine is that they give you. But super tired, just like crazy tired. Like still with kids, doing my thing. And I remember pulling up at Target and we needed, I don't even know what we needed. I think maybe diapers or something trivial, maybe wipes. And I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, I cannot go into Target. I don't have the energy. There's no way. And so I sat in the car and my older kids, I told them what to get and they went inside Target and I fell asleep in the car waiting for them for the 10 minutes. I mean, that was that kind of tired. Like there was no escaping it.
Yeah, complete exhaustion.
Yeah. And thankfully, I'm always so grateful my body didn't reject any of the treatment. Some people have to stop treatment because their body just can't handle it. They can get, major side effects. I had, nausea, really, really tired. The radiation makes you really tired, makes your skin dry, like things that you just don't even think about. Like your skin dry, and I'm not talking about where they're radiating you. I'm talking about like your hands are dry. And your skin is never the same. It's always going to be dry from ever after you have radiation. It's the
Get
worst
out of
thing.
here.
Yeah, and like you don't even think about that. Like who would even at the time don't care? I just am like I'm like so set on what we need to do. I don't care. I will walk through fire if it means I will be okay.
Right.
But then you start having these little things, and you're like, why is my skin so dry? This is so weird. And then you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, that's the radiation. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
great.
Fantastic. Just craziness. I had to drink, I forgot how many cups of water before I went to my radiation appointment. And I went every morning. So Monday through Friday, taking low dose chemotherapy with the radiation shrinks the tumor. And so I would go drop the kids off at school, drive to my radiation appointment by myself, go to radiation. Sometimes one of my kids would be like, oh, can I go with you? Which I thought was great. And so, always taking those time to like let them miss a class so they go with me. Like, I really feel like those are the things that you're grateful for after these experiences, is that these eye-opening things that happen that makes you change the way you think. Does it matter if my daughter is in her biology class in the morning? No, right. It matters that she's with me and she wants to be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels that maybe today isn't the day. Like, maybe today she's scared. We all wake up different. Maybe today she's worried, and so she's gonna sit with me in the lobby. She can't go in with me, but that makes her feel better.
Yeah.
And in turn, she sees that we're gonna do this together. We're gonna get through it.
Yeah.
And so it's little things like that that I think, we all grew and we all became closer and we all were there for each other. And I think that, in essence, I might have been the one that had the cancer, that had the treatment, but we all did it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're in that room. And I think it was 4 weeks, Monday through Friday. The people that are doing, and you're in there for 15 minutes by yourself. Everybody else leaves. The same thing. It's like your brain you're like, okay, so that's great. So you all got your vests on and all your protective gear. By the way, we're at the basement of the hospital.
Yeah.
And there's all these like careful going down here kind of signs, right? And then I'm in the machine. Everybody else leaves. And they come back, and like it's just again, your mind will just, if you don't start learning how to control your mind, at least for me, I mean, it could really take you to some bad places.
Bad places, yes.
So it's a constant battle. It's constant battle, and you're surrounded by other people that are waiting for their appointments. Some no hair, some they all have their story, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do every day. But I started, really being friends with the people that were helping me, the radiologists. They were fantastic, and how important it was for me as a patient to have them, and even that few minutes of conversation, and the level of comfort, because it's not comfortable, that I felt. And there's such great people in the medical field that do such great things. Even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, it literally changes your life.
Yeah.
And it changes how you get through your battle. But I have to drink like 3 cups of water. And I'm like, I have to pee. And you're sitting on that table and you have to drink it because, and these are things you don't think about. You needed your bladder to expand. So the bladder itself was thinner so that it didn't damage the radiation going through it, didn't damage as much. So you're just sitting there and you're just like, great. So you guys all leave the room. I'm hoping I drank enough water, but not too much that I pee on this table, so that the radiation doesn't now hurt while I'm trying to fight this one cancer. It doesn't give me another cancer. And so it's just like, every single thing, you're just like, this is fantastic. So, but again, those people made it wonderful. I'm like, I've got to hurry because I've got to go. I can only handle so long, and they're like, no, we got you. We have a bathroom right here. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. But basically went through all of that. When you, like the last few days of radiation, you actually get burns from the radiation. So my skin looked like I burned myself.
Oh, wow.
And that was crazy. That was, I don't remember what exactly it is, but it's like a 3rd-degree burn that you get.
Wow.
So you're just like, that's fantastic. Just things, like I said, like you know that these are treatment plans, but you don't realize all that comes with them. And then you get like 6 weeks off for your body to recover. You start feeling better and you start feeling less tired. And then the next step was surgery. Well, to get ready for surgery, they do all these tests to see where this tumor, like how the tumor looks now, size-wise and all of that. Well, they went in to do the tests for that, and the imaging came back, and the tumor was basically gone.
Wow.
So they were so successful with the chemotherapy and radiation that the actual tumor itself was not visible. Wow. You still want to take out that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it has cellular level, so
right.
It has to be removed.
But now I'm not concerned anymore about the blockage. I'm not concerned about, I'm a little bit more normal now. And I'm feeling good. Like I'm feeling like my old self.
Okay.
And so that was really, really great, because now I feel like, okay, so we can do this. Like I'm seeing actual imaging and seeing that things are moving in the right direction.
Seeing results.
Yeah. And so then surgery was next. Had to talk to the surgeon. And I was actually really, really fortunate. My brother-in-law got me in with this surgeon who's like a world-renowned surgeon. And in fact, you can't just go see him. Like you have to kind of like know some, like he would send you to one of his colleagues. He's like the head of this surgery. People come from all over the world for him to do surgery.
Wow.
So I felt really, really, really grateful that I was able to be with this like elite surgeon. And he basically told me before I started that first round of treatment, this is what we're going to do. You're going to come back and see me 6 weeks, maybe about 4 weeks after you do your radiation. Give me the imaging at the end. We'll look at it, and then I'll get you set up to have surgery. Surgery is going to be like 6 hours. And basically drew me a diagram of how much they were taking out and what's going to happen. And I had to have this 6-hour surgery. He basically, it's a resection, so he took out the affected part of my colon. And of course, a little more so just to make sure that the margins were clear. And then what happens is because your colon gets used all the time throughout the day, even if you're not feeling like it is, your digestive system is working every moment of the day.
Right.
Well, so that it doesn't give time to heal. If they take out a section of it, it needs to seal back and that needs to heal back. So what they have to do in order to give that time to heal, they have to basically make a hole in your stomach, higher up, make a hole in your stomach, and basically it's called an ileostomy, and you have a bag, and it has to basically divert so that you use that bag. So it gives the part where they resected
time to heal
6 to 8 weeks to heal. Yeah. And then they have to test it to make sure before they fix you that they've got to test it to make sure it is completely sealed, because sometimes it, as we know, even with like regular cuts and stuff, sometimes a little part doesn't completely heal. And that can happen too. So before they go back into surgery and make everything right again, they have to make sure that part that they resected sealed up and healed up appropriately. So it's like this whole process. So I think it was May was my surgery. And I never, other than having C-sections, which I was awake for, I had never been put under general anesthesia before. So that was, again, we're back to a scary place, because I'm like, a 6-hour surgery seems like a lot. And I was going to be in the hospital for like 5 days. And so that was another time where it was like, again, really, really more difficult for me because of everybody else, because I'm looking at them going, they're scared and I can't help them. And to be a parent and be in that situation where you know that something is bringing like immense fear into their world, but not able to take it away. Like all I could do is like give them information, but I can't really fix it.
Right. Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's such a unless you're in that situation, you have an idea of what the thoughts are that are coming into your head, right? Because other than that, you can only imagine, you can assume, but to be in that situation, to be in someone's shoes that has going through that, I mean, it's completely a complete mind fuck.
oh yeah.
Right? I mean, like you mentioned, it's like you don't know what's going to happen. It's that uncertainty that makes you feel like, in this case, you have your kids. So it's not just you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody else. Like you're thinking, like, what's going to happen if I go? Like, what's going to happen with them?
Oh yeah.
It's like I completely
all the time, every day, every moment of the day.
Constant.
At night, when everyone's sleeping, you're still awake thinking about it. And the thing is then you get to a point where, because this isn't a week, this isn't 2 weeks, this is every day. I mean, this went on for a year of having to do this, and it still goes on, because you're never going to get rid of that. You never get rid of the thought of, does it come back? I have to have scans all the time. I have to have blood tests all the time. The anxiety is real. It's still there. It doesn't go away. Of course, I go to work and I do regular things every day. It gets better, but it's that little voice, that little soft spot in your mind that knows that could come up again. It never goes away. There. And so when you're going through it, you also don't, as much as you're thinking about those things and you're worried about the people around you that you love, you don't want to, if they're still doing their day, and you don't want to disrupt that, right? Like, you don't like I don't want to disrupt the happiness my kids are going through throughout their day with my thoughts and darkness that I might have going through my head at this particular moment. So you kind of start to just hold on to it, because I don't why would you want to have a moment of crying and sadness and darkness when they seem okay right now?
Right. Right.
I'm sad and I'm dark right now because my mind is in a bad place and I'm thinking about what I have to do next, because that's my reality.
Right.
But then you start to hold on to it because you're like, as much as, obviously everyone's like, no, I'm here for you. Like, talk to me. Yeah, I know you're here for me, but I don't want to bring you to my dark place,
Yeah.
because it's not fun to be over here. And so there was a lot of where you feel very alone, because even though I'm not alone, I know I'm not alone. I know I have my family and I have, friends, and I have people around me. You don't want to bring them there.
Yeah.
And so again, going back to where, this is all such monumental moments of learning, because I don't know that I would ever have thought about people that have to deal with that on a regular basis, and to understand, because when somebody is depressed or upset or sad or hurt or ill, you don't it's not you. So you are sympathetic to that, and you say, I'm here for you. If you need me, call me.
Right.
And they don't, and then they're something happened, whatever. You're like, why didn't they call me?
Right.
No, it's not about you.
Right.
In fact, it's them, and they're trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And so you get it. And when you're in that moment, you get it. You understand that, you know, that other side of it, that I'm making a choice because I'm not in a happy place right now.
Mm.
I'm in a dark place. I don't want to bring you there.
Yeah.
I know you're there for me, and I know you would be there for me if I said I need you.
Right.
But I don't want to bring you there. I don't want to be that person. It sucks to be here.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, dealing with it on my own, and just like pushing it down and trying to, you know, and sometimes, Brian would wake up and he would be like, you're awake. Are you okay? And I'm like, I just couldn't sleep. And he's like, well, why didn't you wake me up? I would have been up with you. And I so appreciate that. But there's no way. There's no way I would ever do that. That's just not me. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I started to think to myself, I got to start to figure out things that I can do to manage, so that I can manage these dark times or not being able to sleep. I've got to figure something out. I've got to outsmart my brain.
Yeah.
And so I would start stupid stuff. I would put on stand-up comedy on my phone, and I watch stand-up comedy. Never really completely immersing myself in it, but it was so surface level that I could handle it.
Right.
And I could pay attention to it, and it would keep me out of being, it would like outsmart my brain, right? Like I was tired, but it would keep me from slipping into dark thoughts because, well, I mean, it's funny and it's goofy, but I don't have to like really immerse myself in it. I could kind of doze on and off. And so I literally had like Sebastian Maniscalco going on my iPhone all night. And I would just wake up, and then I would skip to somebody else, maybe Chappelle. And it was all light comedy. It doesn't really matter. I don't know that I really ever laughed at it. It kept me just above, my head above water.
Right.
And I started to kind of figure out little things that I could do to just keep my head above water. And the kids helped a lot, doing kid stuff. Kids are awesome because they just live in the moment.
Yeah.
And so, when you're doing something with them, it's keeping your head above water, because you're like, you don't have time for the dark thoughts when you're having fun and goofing off and going to the parks. We went to the park all the time. Like, there were things where I'm like, this works. We're going to just do this all the time. Like, we're just going to run this until it doesn't work anymore, and I'll find something else.
Right.
But the whole thing from beginning to end was just a mind. Like, you learn to, I felt like I had no other choice. I had to learn to control my mind, because that is what was going to get me. And I have to sleep. You're not going to heal. Your body needs to rest. And so if I can't learn to turn off my brain or to settle my brain and my thoughts, I can't go a year doing this, sleeping an hour here and an hour there. Like, that is not healthy. So it was doing a lot of that. And then learning to stop worrying about my fear and trying to settle everybody else's fear.
Yeah.
And so when we went to that surgery part of it, I felt that was really was key. Treatment wasn't, because treatment, it's the scary part is going in there and experiencing it. Maybe some of the tiredness, but nobody's really seen me. Like, again, I didn't lose my hair. So nobody, like, it's not a constant reminder. And if I seem like I was okay, maybe I take a nap or what have you, everybody's okay. So everybody sees that mom's okay. So we're okay.
Yeah.
The little things that I'm experiencing, they're not really knowing. It's all right. So I could keep everybody kind of, feeling okay about this. Like, we're going to do this. But when we get to surgery, it's a whole nother thing, because mom's going to be gone for 5 days.
Yeah.
And this is major abdominal surgery. So that was tough. And I was there. It was a 6-hour surgery. Did that resection. When I came out of the resection, I was so ill. And I was up at USC, so I was really kind of far from everybody. So Brian was there for the surgery, but he's juggling going back and forth with the kids. My ex, who is the father of the 3 older kids, he's helping the guys. A fantastic job of, without meeting each other, they know obviously about each other, but without talking to each other, really, this cancer diagnosis for me, they both stepped up and were like, hey, look it. We are a family, whether you and I are ever going to talk, whether we like each other or not. We have kids, and our kids are family. We're a family. And so our person is ill, and she needs us to grow up and get this figured out so we could take that off her plate. And they did that, and that was awesome.
That's great.
And still to this day, we work so well because of that. But it was a lot of I'll take the kids while you go visit, and then I'll take these kids. It was a lot of them help, just really working together, with my mom, and just shifting the kids around. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to plan anything. They just took care of it. And that was so great. And it was great, again, for the kids to see that. It's great, all of these steps along the way, for the kids to see how to get through these things and how you do it. How we can make this work. We can all work together, and we can all get through this together. So surgery, it was a rough recovery. I had that bag. That was, again, total mind. You now have a bag. I am 40 years old, and I have a bag. It's a constant reminder. Can't eat like I normally ate. It was all these things that were off the diet, basically everything I liked. Vegetables, fruits, can't have them. Salad, can't have them. Has to be very easy digestible stuff.
Really?
Because you could get a blockage. And so, and you don't have your whole intestinal tract to digest stuff.
Right.
So you could become dehydrated way quicker than typical. So you have to drink a lot of water. Can't have caffeine. I mean, there's so many things you can't have. And they're going, I remember Brian sitting in there. She just goes, so you need to eat just just simple foods, like processed foods, like white bread, potatoes. Stay away from the fried stuff, but just really the stuff that everybody likes to eat that's not good for you. That's pretty much, you could have that. I mean, just really simple. And I'm like, I don't eat like that. That doesn't sound good. What are you talking about? All the foods that I like. And she was like, yeah, it's really hard to digest vegetables.
Wow.
You cannot have raw vegetables, period. End of story. Fruits, and even if you blended them up, you blended up fruits, it still could give you a stomach ache. And the fibers from the fruits can still get stuck, and so it can cause a blockage. And then the sugar content from the fruit, it'll basically just go right through you. It'll be like water. And basically, so your concern is, and when you're hearing that, you're like, okay, well, I'll deal with that. Well, no, the concern is that the bag can only hold so much. So now you're having to monitor, and you're hearing, it's probably TMI, but it's the truth of the matter is when you're digesting things, there is gurgling, there is things that you're hearing it because it's right here. Yeah. It's literally right here. So it's it's a whole thing now that you have to think about. And now you're insecure about it because you're like, what the hell? So that was its own thing because you're just like, this isn't something like I had surgery. I'm going to get better and I'm
Yeah.
back to normal. No, no, no. I'm dealing with this. I had blockages. I was so ill. There's no information about any of this, by the way. Like if you go Google like what to do if you have a blockage, they'll tell you to go to the ER. ER doctors don't really know how to do this, so they go look up how to fix it. And sometimes they'll go through the hole in your stomach and kind of fish up, try and like a rotor-rooter kind of thing. So I like look up because there's a lot of people now. I'm doing this research. There's a lot of people that have digestive issues, not even cancer, that have this from the time they're young, like 6 years old, have to have this for the rest of their life. They have no other option. That's the way they have to live. Again, perspective.
Yeah.
I can get through this. They told me this is temporary. I should be grateful. Everything just keeps rehashing when you're going through this. I feel like it just keeps humbling you to a place of you need to change your perspective. You need to be grateful. Because at any point, it could be worse.
Yeah.
And so, again, real moments of anger that I had this bag, really aggravated about it. And then all of a sudden I started looking at it and I said, you know what, saving my life.
Yeah. That is an amazing story.
It's saving my life.
I don't recall that you really like to travel as much.
Mm-mm.
As much as, after the operation, the surgery and stuff. But we there is a place that we both love. It's Maui,
Yeah.
right? Such a fantastic island. And you were there during the fires that happened last year. And you shared with me a little bit of a story that happened. You were literally right there when everything was happening at once.
Within a couple miles, yeah.
So I would love for you to share that story, if you don't mind, because I find it, just crazy.
And somehow, just like the dog, this kind of all relates back to cancer because I wasn't really a huge traveler. I was, I like things. I like places. I'd gone to Hawaii when I was, my brother took me when I was in like 7th grade to Oahu. Went snorkeling. Pretty much the only reason I wanted to go was just to snorkel. Again, just always had a love and fascination for wildlife and animals. And so I wanted to see. But I just never, I always kind of just pushed things off. Like I wanted to go to Hawaii, but I'll do it, maybe next year. Cancer makes you do things, in my opinion. And that's how it affected me. I was like, I did want to go to Hawaii prior to cancer. I was like, you know what? It would be cool if I took the kids to Hawaii. That was on my mind. I'm going to take the kids to Hawaii. We'll do a family trip. We haven't really done, we do Disneyland. We do the snow, do little things, Vegas. But I was like, you know what? I would like, my kids are getting older. We're at a good age where, they're not little kids. I have the younger one, but I feel like with the older ones, it would be a good time. Let's just do a family trip. And cancer comes along as I'm planning this trip, disrupts everything. And so I'm like, okay, well, forget that. We're going to put a pin in it, go through all of that cancer. And then I get through all of that and I'm like, no, forget this. We don't know when our last day is. And I am not going to have the most vivid memories of my kids' childhood be this cancer. We're going to make some memories. We're going to do some things. And so I started going full speed ahead, planning a Hawaii trip. And then COVID hit. COVID hits, everything gets shut down. And I'm like, again, the anger sets in because I'm just like, dude, I lost a year. Now I'm back to everything shut down. I'm like, I just want to live my life. Like I have this time that I prayed so hard for. I have this time. I'm healthy. I want to make some memories. And so realizing, look, I sound pretty selfish. I need to maybe go back to being grateful. We get through and I'm just now looking and planning. I'm thinking, well, now I get to take some time and I could really plan this trip. So plan a trip to Maui. We go. It's Brian, myself, and our 2 boys, and my second oldest daughter. So 3 of the 4 kids. My oldest didn't want to go. She's not a fan. So we go to Hawaii. We have the best time in Maui. It was awesome. Awesome. Everything I dreamt of and more. And I was like, this place is so magical.
Such a magical place.
I got to come back. Like that, everything became like, when can I come back? Every single day was magical.
Yeah.
Wake up, was in the ocean 7:30 in the morning.
Oh.
The air is magical. Everything about that island is magic. It's pure magic.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm going to come back here. When are we going to come back? And my boys, every couple days, can we go back to Maui? Can we go back to Maui? So I'm like, it's not just me. It's like we are all just like obsessed and just in love with this island. And so work, save. And I'm like, we're gonna do Maui. So this was last summer, plan the trip. This time it's just going to be myself and the kids. So Sophie, Tay, and Carter. Brian's going to stick this one out. He stays at home with the dogs, and he had just lost his dad this last year. So it was just traveling and timing and all of that wasn't going to work out. So I take the kids and we're going to go to Maui. And this is really outside of my comfort zone because wasn't a big traveler before. And now I'm going to do this trip and I'm going to do it by myself with the kids. And, I've done smaller trips, but this is definitely on the bigger side. I think we had 2 weeks planned. But I'm feeling really good about it. It's magic. Maui's a magical place. I'm comfortable with Maui, too, getting around and knowing where to go because we had been there already. So I was like, I could do this. It'll be perfect. I know where I'm going. I'm very comfortable with where I need to be on the island, where I'm going to head, where I'm going to snorkel. I was good. So we get on the plane. We head, and this time, instead of staying in Wailea like we did the first time, we're going to stay up in Napili. So get our snorkel gear, talk to the guy at the snorkel shop, go to Costco, because we have a condo this time. So I'm going to get some stuff at Costco, get some bread, get some, peanut butter and jelly, just, so we have some things in the kitchen. Go get our snorkel gear. The guy at the snorkel store is telling me, because this time we're going to try snorkeling over on this west side. Before we were over in like Wailea, Kihei, McKenna Landing, that's where we were snorkeling.
Now you're like up by Kanapali, right?
Correct. And so now, now I've read and heard of all the places to snorkel up there that are fantastic. So I'm like, well, we're going to go do that. So we go, he kind of gives me a layout and he's drawing a picture. He's like, so first and foremost, I would start snorkeling over here at Baby Beach over in Lahaina. That would be your first day tomorrow. You should do that. And then once you because Carter, of course, was 7, I wanted him to kind of get the groove of snorkeling. He goes, that's a really calm area. So I would do that first and then maybe go down a little bit and go, he pointed out another place right down in Lahaina. Do that maybe the first 2 days just to kind of get everybody back, comfortable again. And then I would travel up and he's giving me where I should go the next days. And then I'm like, I'm so excited. I had reservations at, what's that restaurant? Fleetwood Mac's restaurant. Mick Fleetwood's, forgot what it's called.
Is it Monkey Pot? No.
No, it's on Front Street. Anyways, it's hard to get reservations. And I was super excited. Huge fan of Fleetwood Mac. I think it's, what's his face? I forgot his name. He owns that restaurant and it's really supposed to be cool. And sometimes he shows up there. There's a bunch of memorabilia. And sometimes he'll play, there's like a little stage and he'll play music and it's supposed to be amazing. So I'm like, oh, so cool. I have a reservation there. We're going to go there. I have it all planned out. We go to our condo, unpack. We're going to get up in the morning.
And this is what day that you arrived there? You're like,
the day before.
Monday?
Yeah.
So like a Monday, right?
Yeah. So unpack everything, hang out. We're taking pictures. Now it is a bit windy. There's talk of hurricanes off the coast, not literally right there, but like, in the area. So we're going to get some heavy winds. Not a big deal. Everybody seems like it's not a big deal, business as usual. So we go to bed and we're going to wake up early and we're going to go to Baby Beach over in Lahaina and I have my day planned. Wake up at like 5 a.m. and it is so still in the condo. The fans are off. I'm like, there's no power. That's weird. So I'm like, that's weird. It's really windy, no power. So we get up and I'm like trying to kind of figure out about the power situation because we just bought a bunch of groceries and the refrigerator's stocked. So I go up to the office and I go, power's out, Again, we're in a condo, so this is not resort area like. I mean, there are resorts in the area, but this is definitely more of like vacation condos. Just to kind of give you an idea of like the thought process of the people working. So I was like, the power's out, and they're like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Power goes out, the winds. What happens is when the winds die down, somebody will go up to wherever the power line's down. They made it seem like this is
A
typical.
normal thing, right?
We'll probably have power back maybe after lunch. And I'm like, okay. Well, so I'm like, maybe it's not a good day to snorkel in Lahaina. Maybe we'll go up further and we'll just catch a beach. Because I wasn't too sure about this wind and all of that. So I was like, you know what? I don't know if it's a good day to snorkel. We'll just go up to the beach. And we trekked up higher. So I think we went up to, where's the Montage? What is that? Is that Kanapali? No, it's Kapalua.
Kapalua. Yeah.
So we went up there, driving, taking pictures, whatever. It was pretty windy, pretty choppy. So we came back. It was now about 2-ish. And I thought, we'll stop in, we'll see what's going on, and then we'll head down to Lahaina. And we'll see if the power's on. So the power was not on still. And it was like, now it's after 2. So I check in, and they go, yeah, the power might be off for a little bit longer. Once Lahaina gets power, then we get power. And so, I mean, I know it's a little island, but I'm thinking big city, like where we live. So I'm like, this is sounding so bizarre. Like, we don't have an idea of what's happening. When they get power, then we'll get power. It's very bizarre. But I'm like, no worries. Everybody seems to be okay about it. And she goes, so it'll probably be later tonight, if not maybe tomorrow morning. Well, so now I'm a little concerned about all the produce that we have and all the goodies that we have in the fridge. So I'm like, you know what, kids? Let's go travel down towards Lahaina, which is just a few miles away. We will stop at Safeway, because I knew there was a Safeway over there, and we'll get some candles and we'll get some ice. So that way we can last through the night.
We'll keep the stuff fresh.
Pack the kids up, and I'm like, maybe we'll hit up Starbucks or, what have you. Maybe we'll see if like in one of the hotels in Kanapali, those big, like the Sheraton and all those, we'll stop there because there's a Starbucks. We'll go into the hotel. I'm sure they have it because it's a big, huge, multi-million-dollar resort. I'm sure they have backup generators, and Starbucks is probably rocking and rolling there.
Right.
So we go over there. Probably 100 other cars of people are doing the same thing. They're looking for a Starbucks. And it is windy. It is really, really windy. Like probably the gustiest wind I have ever been in. And my kids get out of the car, come back. Like, yeah, everything's closed. Everybody's just like walking around trying to figure out what to do. It's like nothing's open. I'm like, really? That's bizarre. I mean, are we really in a hurricane? Like, I'm now trying to figure this out. Like, why is nobody saying anything?
Right.
This doesn't seem to be concerning except for the tourists who we're all trying to figure out what to do. I'm noticing cars pulled off on the side, gas stations. And I'm like, what is going on? This is weird. And then it dawns on me, well, if there's no power, then I guess you can't have gas. So then I'm starting to look at our gas gauge and going, well, we probably shouldn't be driving around too much because we don't know when this is all going to hit. All of these things that normally don't occur to me about any of this, emergency situations. So we're driving. And I don't know what road that is, but it's like that main road we're going. And I'm going to go to Safeway, which is right before Lahaina. It might actually be in Lahaina, but it's like right on the outskirts. And so we're driving, and it is windy and trees are down. It's not scary, but like trees are down. And there's still people on the road. And then you're hearing, it's like, I forgot what time it was, the afternoon. You're hearing like fire trucks go by and like, police cars go by. But I'm thinking, again, trees down, that's usually what happens in a storm. There's people getting accidents, whatever. So it's starting to back up on this main road. And I'm like, God, it's like coming to a standstill. So I'm like, you know what? It's like Laguna. When PCH backs up, you just go up a street parallel and just take that down. So I'm like, I'm going to do that. So I go up, I go down the street. So now we're in a neighborhood. Things are down, power lines are down, like things are a mess. And I'm like, we just need to get to Safeway. Now I'm really wanting to get there because I'm seeing how bad like the weather is. And I'm like, let's just get flashlights, some candles, ice, let's get out. We get over there, we get to this gas station right across the street from Safeway. And some people are pulling in there and parking and running across to Safeway. Safeway's parking lot is packed. And I'm like, maybe I'm telling my oldest daughter, my older daughter, I'm like, maybe we'll just park here. I'll leave you guys and I'll run across the street because I don't think there's parking over there and I'll get the stuff. And she's like, I don't think you should leave us in the car. Like the wind is really like, I don't know, maybe we'll just come back. And I'm looking, and as I turn my head and look, a major power line is down in the middle of the gas station. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, they must have cut power to that, right? I mean, when the power lines go down, don't you cut the power companies cut power to all these things? Like, can't be having power in there. So I just like laugh it off. And she was like, I cannot believe. So we take a picture of it because we're like, this is a major power line down in a gas station, which is probably really not safe. So we pull through, there's police directing traffic. And I'm like, what do you guys think? Let's take a vote. Should we keep driving? Because there's a Times market down the way. Should we keep driving and just get some stuff, or should we come back out later? And everybody,
it's like later.
Later. This is getting wild. There's a lot of people. It's really windy. It's kind of chaotic. And I'm like, okay, we'll come back out later. All right, we'll turn around. So we turn around and we go back to our condo. Well, when you look at the time frame of this fire and when it started getting out of control, we were a half a mile from the epicenter of down on Front Street. Us turning around, we were going back away from the fire. Had we gone to the next place up, or even Safeway, we would have been caught in that fire because the fire went all the way down. People were trapped because it's only a 2-lane road there all the way through Lahaina. And that's where everything took place. And it was at that time. So when you look at the time stamps of everything, that's the fire trucks that went past us. That was for the fire. We didn't hear any sirens, like in terms of emergency alert. We didn't hear anything. And that power line that was down in the gas station, that still had energy going through it because that's why that fire happened. All of those down power lines, they hadn't been turned off. And so the whole concern is that there was actually, that those winds were gusty early in the morning. Nobody turned off those power lines. And that's why the fire happened. So we went back, didn't know anything, just power's out, windy, what have you. We were going to go back out. It was later on, it was starting to get dark, and it gets dark because there's nothing with power. So I go over to the front desk again, and I'm like, do we have any other information? And it's like back before telephone lines. Like they are, because there is no cell service, by the way. Everything's down. So they're going, my cousin told me that so-and-so works with him in Lahaina, and there's a fire. It went through 3 different people before it got to this person who's telling me there was a fire. So I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what's going on? I'm not really sure. I think it's probably not a big deal, but that's what's keeping the power from coming back on. So probably tomorrow. So they don't even have a clue as to how monumental this whole thing is. And we're now at nighttime. So this is now a whole day of this.
And you are how far from Lahaina?
I think it's like 7 miles, maybe 6-7 miles. We're just up the way.
Okay.
So I'm looking out our balcony, and you could actually see smoke. And I'm like, this is a big fire if we're seeing smoke. And it looks like it's literally in Lahaina, like the little Front Street. You could see it. Right. And if you're looking, you're like, wow. So we're watching it. And then I'm going, okay, so do we need to be concerned about the fire? Like where we are. I'm starting to kind of go like, nobody's really seeming to be, there's no plan in place.
Right.
There's no real information. We can't access anything. I can't call home. We don't have cell service. We have very little running water because I then later learned that when there is a fire, they turn off the power for the water for the resorts to give it to the fire department, which makes sense. But again, I have California metropolitan area mentality. I'm on a little island that has a different way of doing things. So these things aren't like naturally what I'm thinking about. Like I'm looking at the water going, why are we don't have water now? I'm not realizing that, we're on an island and they do things different. And the pace at which they do things is different. Their lifestyle is different.
Very.
So I'm now going like, what is going on? Because I have a little tiny old school radio, like where you're trying to get the station, and they don't really have any information. They will say like, There's a fire in Lahaina, but nobody's saying how big it is. So that indicates to me nobody really understands what we're really dealing with. Like in retrospect, looking back, nobody knew exactly the terror and the magnitude of which was going on over there. So we get in the car. It's now pitch black. It's like 8 o'clock at night. We get in the car and we drive back that direction. And I'm like, oh, what is that? Whalers Village.
Whalers Village.
We're going to go to Whalers Village, kids, because they have to have internet, right?
Yeah. I mean,
These are big, huge resorts. How do they not have backup generators? They would have backup generators, right? And internet.
and to drive into Whalers Village, you drive into like a golf course area, right?
Correct. I'm in a minivan. We're plugging our stuff. And that was the other reason why we got in the car, too, because my kids are like, my things are running out of batteries. And they're like, these kids nowadays can't survive without their stinking devices. So my kids are like, and I didn't bring anything. Like, I didn't bring like crayons and coloring books because we're going to be outside.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have nothing to do. Like, there's nothing for these kids. We're just staring at each other, like, with no idea of what's going on. So it's just very weird. And you realize, like, this daily life is definitely way different when you don't have power.
Electronics.
And you're not set up for this. So we get in the car, we're plugging in our devices. We head down to Kanapali. I think I have a brilliant idea. I just now at this point want to at least call home. Hopefully they have some sort of news outlet or something or look up on the internet to see what's going on so that we have an idea of what we're dealing with. And also to let Brian know that, like, we're still here because he hasn't heard from me in 24 hours, almost 24 hours now, which is really would be weird, right?
Right.
So we go to Kanapali. We go to Whalers Village. I'm driving. I'm like, does anybody have any internet? I'm driving. It's pitch black, so I can't be doing anything. I'm like, I'm driving. It is gusty. I'm in a minivan, so it's really feeling it. There's other people driving around. It is, when I say pitch black, it is so pitch black, so windy, and it is a golf course. And so in the middle of the two lanes to go in and out of this area is like the center median with grass, and there's big trees. So we're driving, and the kids are like, there's no internet. And I'm like, there's no internet popping up. This is the Westin. Do you know how big this is? I'm like baffled.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try the Sheraton. Okay, I'm going to pull in the Sheraton parking lot. There's no, Mom, there's nothing. I don't see anything. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You're telling me there is no Wi-Fi, no internet anywhere. This is baffling. So I'm like, okay, we got to get home because I'm kind of a little worried. It is so dark and this wind is crazy. And there is the most monstrous tree as I'm driving in the middle of the road that had just fallen. I mean, it is the most monstrous tree I've ever seen. It is covering the entire road plus some of the other direction. And I'm like, how the heck am I going to get around this? It's pitch black. There are cars, in the distance. I'm like, how the heck am I going to get around this? I'm not in a Jeep. I'm in a minivan. Like, how am I going to get around this? So I'm like trying to figure out. So now I'm going the wrong direction because I turned around and I'm thinking, maybe I'll go back this way. Then this like big Ford F-150 starts coming and I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to follow him because then at least I could see where he's going to go and I'll follow his path. So I do that. We get around and I'm like, we're going back because this is nuts.
Right.
This is now my brain is going, okay, we're probably heading into an emergency situation here. So we head back. And when we're heading back, you see a lot more cars on the side of the road. You see every gas station. There's not even a place to pull. They're just cars like abandoned there. People are running out of gas. People are tripping out. We go back to Napili. Well, when we go back to where our condo is, there's like a little shopping center. It's very small. The shopping center is full of people. Cars coming through there. I'm like, why is everybody here? Like, I don't understand what's happening. Nobody's giving you any information. So we pull through there and I'm like, I'm going to ask somebody. Normally, my teenage daughter would be like, don't ask anybody. What are you doing? Like, you're so embarrassing. No, she was like, yeah, Mom, we should figure, and that's when I knew too. I'm like, everyone's tripping out in my car right now. So I pulled over. I'm like, hey. And they all seem to be locals. I'm like, just curious what's going on, if anybody has any news. And the girl said, I haven't talked to my family since the fire started. We live in Lahaina. I'm just here with my baby. This is that area was like an emergency disaster area. This is a meeting place for emergency disaster for people, for the locals. So I'm here waiting to see if somebody from my family shows up or if I could find any information. So I don't really know. Then I'm like, okay,
This is big.
this is really big. And she goes, do you happen to have any diapers? And I said, I'm so sorry, I don't. And she goes, do you have anything? I said, I don't have anything. I'm so sorry. And it's sinking in. Like there's nothing. There's no stores that are open. There's nothing. She's like, I was out with my baby and I couldn't get back into Lahaina. So I just have what's in my diaper bag. I don't have anything. And other people it's now everybody's gathering. People are talking. It is now very clear to me this is an emergency situation. This is an emergency disaster area that the locals know of because people are going, yeah, da-da-da. Oh, hold on here. Let me get you something. I have a couple bananas. Like it's very much very community now. It's turning in very community in that little area. So we hang out there for a little bit because they seem to have more information than what we have and just knowing what to do because I don't know what we're doing. And so we hang out there for a little bit. And again, realizing this is a moment to teach because we're all scared. We're all worried at this point. This is not comfortable. And I told the kids, these are one of these times where we didn't choose this. This just happened. We got to learn how to navigate through this.
Yeah.
And the first thing, we need to be grateful. We need to have gratitude because there are people that we're seeing that are in worse situations. So we have a little bit of food. It may not be what we want to eat. We might be sick of our peanut butter and jelly. But we need to have some gratitude right now and really, really be very intentional about our thought process and our perspective right now. So it was a teaching moment. And I feel like, it really was one of those moments where, again, the fear could set in and we could then be going like, what are we going to do? This is about us. What are we going to do? This our vacation, like anger, fear. But no, this is huge. And we're looking at it and going, what is going on? Like, there's people, we have a condo and even my kids are like, should we ask them if they want to stay in our place? Cause like we have enough room. We could take them in and we did. And thankfully she had a cousin who lived up the way. So not a big deal. She was able to have at least a place to stay. But we even asked the lady who was at the front desk, she couldn't go home. She's from Lahaina. She had now the vibe at the front desk has changed.
Has changed.
Now everybody has fear. And now everybody is like, I haven't heard from anybody. I haven't talked to my family. Nobody can get in and out of Lahaina. Still not knowing the magnitude, but nobody can get in and out of Lahaina. Nobody's talked to their family. And so now, am I concerned that I haven't sent a text message to Brian? Obviously, I think he needs to know, but you just put it in perspective.
Right.
I know he's safe.
Right.
And so we said, if you would like to come in our room, you're more than welcome to, even if you just want to lay down on the sofa, if you need some food, we do have some things. Our perspective changed. And the way we were now in a place of like, hey, we do have some things. It may not be everything, but we have some things we could share.
Right.
There was a security guard. Now the fire's huge. When we could look out, we could see how big the fire is. And they're saying, we're not on evacuation orders yet, but the Kanapali is. So we would be the next ones. And it's like maybe midnight at this point. And he said, and I said, well, how do we know if we're going to get evacuated? And she goes, well, we'll knock on your door. And I'm like, there's a lot of condos here. You're going to knock on every single door? Like, I'm just not super comfortable that you're going to, like, for sure you're going to knock on our door? Like, loud enough for us to hear? And she's like, don't worry. Yeah, we'll knock on everybody's door. And I'm like, my daughter and I are like, we're going to stay up. We'll take shifts. We're not going to go to sleep tonight. So we were able to walk. It was the weirdest thing. We were able to walk to one little spot, like where we could get one bar on our cell phone. So I was then messaging just to say, hey, we're okay. That's all I wanted to just get across. We're okay. And he got that, but it was taking like 15 minutes to get anything sent. And then there'd be a long delay. Sometimes it wouldn't go. So trying to plan out what to do the next day. If we get evacuated, what they're saying is that we'll evacuate up to the airport. at Kaanapali. And it occurred to me, there's an airport over here. So why can't we just fly out of this airport? They don't. It's private planes only. But you could evacuate there. And that would be the best bet from what everybody's saying because they have bathrooms there. The other plantation that they evacuate to, there's no bathrooms. So they said, if we do evacuate, bring the toilet paper with you. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, bring everything with you because there's nothing up there. It's just a flat area. So we wake up the next morning. The store at that little shopping center, a lot of those stores are open. They're losing their produce and all their perishables. They're losing them because there's no energy. So some places are giving out free stuff. A couple of little restaurants are making stuff with what they have left, and it's free because there are people that are completely displaced that were on this side of Lahaina and cannot get back. And so they're trying to take care of these people. We were in line to try and get some water and a couple things from the store. And I think it was like a 5-hour line we were in.
Oh my God.
It was wrapped around the building. Little tiny store, little tiny market, tiny little market. Not anything like we have here. It's little tiny,
Right.
4 aisles.
Right.
It's cash only. I only had like $30 cash on me. I didn't have any other cash. I don't know why. It was not very smart. Lesson learned. So we pieced together our money. We got like a couple bottles of water and a couple apples. And really were taking in what was going on. Well, while we were in that little area, in that little shopping center, we're talking with people, a lot of locals, a lot of people that vacation there, have vacation homes or vacation there. And this car pulls up, and looks like it drove through fire. These guys get out, and one of them is crying, and he's a young kid. He's probably like in his early 20s. He's crying, and he knows some of the people that are in line. And one girl runs over to him and hugs him. We're watching this all take place. And we're still not knowing what's going on. Like, we just know there's a fire. Nobody knows at this point. What we all will find out is that it was a massive, massive fire. He comes out and he's crying. And she's like, oh my God, you're okay. You're okay. And he goes, Lahaina's gone. And everybody in line, there's hundreds of people in line. This is a 6-hour line. Everybody turns and hears him. And he's crying. He goes, Lahaina is all gone, you guys. Lahaina's gone. And he looks like he ran through the fire. He has dirt on his face, like smoke smudge. And everybody's going, what are you wait, like now everybody's going, what streets? What, like,
yeah,
my family lives there. Where are we talking? Like, it was like this little fire that everybody thought was a little fire. Now they're seeing this. And it was like a movie almost. It was so dramatic. And he goes, it's all gone. Everything that's in Lahaina is gone. And people are like, what are you talking about? And he goes, Front Street is gone. The houses are gone. Everything's gone. People have died. I don't know where my family is. I couldn't get out. And they're like, how did you get out? So apparently everything was blocked off. And he goes, people were trapped in Lahaina. I was trapped, and the boys that were with him. And he goes, we used so-and-so's motorbike. And we got around, back roads or what have you. They went up a back road and were able to get around and get out. And he goes, he was crying. He goes, there's so many people that didn't get out. He goes, I can't even tell you. It's gone. And he was there was so much pain. And then to see everybody just start crying and going, do you know, did you see this? Did you see this person? Did you see, the desperation and the sadness. And it was just all in that one moment from that car pulling up. Everything changed. That moment was everything changed. And it still was unbelievable because you're thinking, how is it all gone? People were crying. It was really bad. And, it was very interesting what he did. 10 minutes after he got there, he worked at the little store, like part-time. He went over there and got cases of water and started passing out water to everybody that was in line because it was a warm day. And it was like, that's really the soul and the vibe of Maui, is that he was in pain and he lost people and he saw things that nobody should ever have to see. And he was still helping. He was helping. He was out there. He was out there that whole day because we went back. He was out there helping. And somebody said, "Why don't you come back to my house? You could get," and he goes, "No, because I've got to help. There's people, these people, they don't know what I saw. And a lot of people are going to have found out they lost a lot. And the only thing I know how to do is to help." And so everybody was like that. Everybody helped. Everybody, it was very community. Everybody was sharing. Everybody was giving people things like, "Oh, I got this. Do you want this?" It was amazing. It was really, really amazing. Such great people there. And it was so sad. And it was days and we were running out of food. And finally we saw at the top of the hill, people were kind of congregating off the side of the road on this hill, kind of pulling off their car, walking up on the side of the hill. And I guess there's a reception there. So I just pull off the car because I see 100 other people. I pull off the car and my kids wait in the car. I walk up there and you can get 1 bar of reception. So I finally get a hold of Brian. I'm telling him what the situation is. He still doesn't have all the information. Nobody has the information yet. I tell him what I saw with that guy a few hours before. And I go, "Can you get any information? Because this is sounding bad." And he was like, "Just hang tight. Everything will be okay." Like he's not understanding
Right.
the gravity of this. And I'm in my voice, he could hear. I'm like, "We don't have running water. And I don't know when this is going to, nobody knows anything." And he was like, "Well, just hang tight. I'm going to get some information, try and get back to me, like call me in a couple hours." So I go back up on the hill and that's when the news started breaking. It was at the next evening. And he was like, "Babe, it's bad. That the whole town's gone." And I said, "That's what I said." And he's like, "No, I'm saying like everywhere we went when we were visiting in Lahaina is gone. It's to the ground." And he goes, "And a lot of people have died." And he goes, "I don't know when you're going to be able to get out of there because the road's closed." And I said, "Well, you could get out the back way around the island." But somebody said it goes down to 1 lane and it's a private road and they usually have it closed during the summer because they don't want tourists dying driving that road. And so people will close that road. And they said they might open it because there's a lot of tourists. And now Maui is wanting the tourists to get off the island so that they could help the people from
The locals.
the locals
Focus on
because
the
they can only help so many.
Right.
There's only so much food and so much water and so much, like people need help. And so get the tourists off the island so we could help our people. Totally understand. How do we get off the island?
Yeah.
So he goes, "You need to get out of there." So the next morning I had half a tank of gas and I go, "I need you to figure out how long that's going to take because I have half a tank and I can't get stuck over there. Like it's scary. So I need you to figure out how long it'll take us to get back." And so I called him and he was like, it was in the morning. I had everything all packed up. I was ready to go. And he was going to tell me like the mileage and how long it would take going that direction. And I go, "No," I stopped off at the little office and they said, "This morning, in about an hour, they're going to open up the main road for the locals to get out. And it's only for locals to get out. It's only going one direction. You only have a few hours to get out. If your car isn't going to make it, your rental car, because of the gas, you could drop it off and a bus will pick you up." And they were using buses from schools and all different things, shuttles, to get people. You could just basically drop off your rental car, leave the keys inside the car, and to get off this island. So I called them. I'm like, "Hey, we're just going to get off the island. We're going." And we drove out. And when we drove through Lahaina, we drove past that Safeway. Half of it was burned. We have pictures. It was like unbelievable. Just the couple nights before, we were right there, right when the fire was starting. Drove through. The ground is still blazing. Like the ground is still smoldering. It is unbelievable.
Wow. And I remember you mentioning also there were a couple that was staying right next to you, right?
Mm-hmm. I still don't know what happened with them. I called. They were on their honeymoon. They were at the condo right next to us. When we left that first morning, then we went up north to Kapalua to go to the beach when it was real windy. They were leaving too. And I remember we were leaving at the same time. The doors are right next to each other. And the girl said, "Oh, no, just leave the door open," because it was a screen door and a regular door. She goes, No, just leave the door open and we'll lock the screen. That way we get the breeze inside so it'll be nice when we come home. So they left it like that. Locked the screen. We were coming out at the same time. They had, some beach towels with them and a bag, and it looked like they were doing the same thing we were doing, just going to go out for a few hours. The only thing I could think is that they maybe went down to Lahaina. I don't know. And maybe they got stuck. And I don't know exactly what happened, but we came home. They were not there. Everything was exactly as it was left. That night when we were sitting outside watching the fire across the way, we shared, it's like a back area, but you share it. It's like a common area.
Right.
And so we happened to, and it's very windy. We happened to like peek over, and their screen had gotten blown off because, again, they didn't have their slider closed. They had kept everything open with the screens locked so that the breeze could go through. Their screen was like hanging on. And my son's like, are they there? Because that's weird. Like the screen is like, it's barely hanging on. And I was like, I don't know. That's weird. And so I went to the front and I was like, hello. And everything was as it was, like where their sandals, like everything that I remember from that morning was as it was, like nobody had moved anything and nobody answered. And so then that night when we were up all night and the security guard's like, oh, we'll knock on the door. I'm like, you know what? I don't think that they're there and their slider is open and their screen is barely hanging on. And she was like, do you think they're okay? And I was like, I saw them leave this morning. I don't know where they are. At the time, we didn't know what was going on. And she goes, oh, well, they maybe, decided to stay longer out or what have you. Maybe they're not coming home tonight. It was not like a big deal because we didn't know the magnitude of what was going on. And then the next day, still not there. Still everything the same as it was. And when we went to leave, screen door still the same. Everything was still the same. I told the front desk, they were like, I don't know. They maybe got stuck in Lahaina. I'm not sure. Because nobody could come back. Like, if you were on the other side of Lahaina, you could not cross over, no matter what. They only opened that road for a few hours a day, going the other direction to leave Napili, Kapalua, Kanapali.
To go towards where the aquarium is at, that whole area.
And there was no internet, no cell service until you got past the aquarium. So, yeah, I called a few weeks after the fire to say about the neighbors, and they said they didn't have any information. So I have no idea what happened, but we never saw them.
Wow. That is a crazy story.
And even at the airport, people were there displaced, staying. There was all the air, like literally as soon as you got service, people were getting flights to try and get off the island. But there's only so many flights. And so people were having to stay in the airport overnight, to stay in their rental cars, to wait to get a flight because there was not enough flights. So it was just all the way through to the very end. It was a just very difficult situation. But again, grateful that, it was so much worse. We found as in days, as everybody found in the coming days, it was so awful for all those people. It was so awful.
Yeah.
It was total devastation.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine if this is, what a crazy lesson, right? I mean, you being there with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're there with Brian, okay, it's different. But when you're there with your kids, and you're just like, what are we going to do? It is something that hopefully not a lot of people will be able to experience,
But it's always those things where it's like, you never know what each day is going to have for you. And I really feel as though the best you could do is just meet that fear with gratitude and try and find things to be grateful for. Because if you're here, if you're present here, you have things to be grateful for.
Right.
And try and help. That was what I got from Maui. That's what Maui gave me, is their people. They're such good people.
Yeah.
And in that moment, they had more to be angry about, more to be sad about, more to be fearful about than we did.
Yeah.
And they were kind and considerate and sharing, and really their concern was their community and each other.
Yeah.
And so, you got to really like just commend them, because we got off the island. They did not have running water for days and weeks. They did not have power for weeks and weeks. I mean, we're talking, I think last time I looked, it was like they went without power for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We were a few days. They went out without supplies, without hearing and being able to see. Like, there were so many days when we went back to the airport, there was a line of cars for miles of people waiting to be able to get to their family for the road to open up.
Right.
I mean, sleeping in their cars. So we brought all our water that we had from our hotel. We had stuff left over, and we gave it to people. And we handed the water to even the police officers that were on the side of the road that were, kind of controlling traffic, because the bottom line is like, we love that place. We love it there. And it hurt
Yep.
to see that, and the people that were experiencing such horrific things. I mean, and at that time they didn't even know who was missing, who had perished. Like, there's things that came out obviously in the days ahead from when we left that, would just like, that should never happen. Nobody should ever have to experience that. So I think really just, taking away, having that takeaway of like, we love this place and it hurt, but we hurt for the people that are there, and we hurt for them, and
Absolutely. Like we mentioned earlier, it's Maui. The first time I went there was in 2019, I believe, and literally like the minute I landed, went to the beach, and you feel this amazing energy in that island.
It's special.
You feel something different, and you know you're in a very, very special place. And when that happened, in Lahaina, and then remember you sharing some of the story with me, I remember, I think I was telling Deb about it, on my way back. That very same day, I was sharing with her some of the story that you told me, and I had like tears, going down the side of my face, just because it's like, you feel it, you feel that the place that it's special, in how these people are, what they're going through, what they are. You cannot even fucking imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
Losing everything they once knew, their home, family members, everything. It's gone in a fucking heartbeat.
It was so many kids that were home because of the power being out.
Yeah.
They had the schools closed, and so people went to work and left their kids. And I'm a parent. I know that, there are times where you still have to go to work and you got to leave your kids. And I relate to that. So when I was hearing that, I'm like, they can't get back. They can't for days. They couldn't get back there to even look for their kids or see if their kids are okay. There's so much horror that went on, and it just made my heart ache. It really did. Such a beautiful, we live in a beautiful area where we are, right? We have beautiful beaches. We live in an area that people come and visit all the time.
Right.
But Maui's beyond beautiful. It's like magical there. It really is. Everything about that island is magic.
Absolutely, hands down. I follow this guy on Instagram. His handle is Mr. 2 Thep, MR2 THEP, and he lives in Maui. And he talked about it. I mean, he was right there when, I don't know exactly where he lives. In what area exactly, but he's in Maui. And he was just talking about it as it was happening, and you could see that he was so frustrated. And obviously all this anger that comes out, right? As a local, and all this unfortunate what conspiracy theories that are built around it, right? I mean, obviously we don't want to think like that, right? But as things are happening and what happens, the stories that come off afterwards, like the lack of water, not allowing people to come and help, right? Because we need to identify the bodies, yeah, but at the same time, it's like people still need help.
Yeah.
All these things that you're like, your head kind of goes down that way,
Yeah.
right? Like, why is this happening? Why are they not allowing the people to come back to their homes and find out? I don't know, it's their home. But it is very unfortunate that is happening, that happened to that place. And all we can do is like, we really hope that those people are able to be allowed back in their houses and build their homes back up, because that's their land, that belongs to nobody else but them,
Yep.
And once again, we hear about all these real estate companies wanted to go over and take over and start selling the land, that does not belong to them.
Yeah.
It's really disgusting,
Yeah.
So all we can hope is that is not the case. That these people are going to be able to get their land back when the time is right, and being able to, because they even say that too, like, we don't need any help from anyone. Just give us our land back, and we'll be able to build it back up ourselves.
Yep.
We don't need help from anyone. Just give us our land back. And then you have, when it comes down to like Ukraine and the war that's been going on for 2 years, all these billions of dollars that are being sent over there.
Yep.
And here you have $700 for the locals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fucking joke, right? I mean, like, how else can you see it? Like, that money should be spent here first.
Absolutely.
Those people deserve that money. Help them build help them build back their homes. But
And the thing is that I think which makes me even more upset for this is they share that with us, like us, the tourists, us that don't live there. We're not locals, but they share us in every place I have ever been in Maui, every store, every local that I've come across. So kind, so kind, so welcoming. And they share their land and that beauty with us, and then we give them $700. That's what we give them. It's appalling. It's like it's so disgusting to me how that was handled. It was so disturbing, and to be quite honest, it should never have happened. That was very, very much avoidable. Those power lines, like I said, that would never have happened here. Those power lines would have been turned off. If you know that the wind, the hurricane, that stuff, like I'm saying in the beginning, when I said about the power to the front desk, it was very much like this happens. This is high winds, power lines go down, they'll get turned back on. So this isn't the first time this happened. This happens. They know it. So turn the damn power lines off.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have turned all of that off? Shut the power down. Like, just shut it down. Wait till the wind's going to give up. The weather changes. Things go back. It'll settle. Everybody could go without power for a day or two.
Right. And that's the other thing, it's like what you mentioned about all these beautiful resorts, right? Like the Sheraton and Westin and all these places that is like, couldn't they be prepared with generators?
I tell you what.
You could expect that, right?
I drove up to Montage, one of like the most amazing resorts, billions. Drove up to the Montage. It was pitch black. Drove up there because I was like, okay, the Ritz and the Montage are right there. Dave Matthews was staying there 3 days before. And we're talking about serious money at these resorts. Drove up there, and I drove up, and right where you're going to pull in, there's like a security desk. And there was just this gentleman, young guy, big Hawaiian guy. And I pull up, and I said, I'm so sorry. I go, he's like, is there anything I could help you with? And I said, I'm just looking for if you have maybe a backup generator. so I could, do you have Wi-Fi or anything? I apologize. And it was late. It was maybe like 11 o'clock at night. And he goes, his eyes are red. And I'm looking at him and it's dark. You just see off of the light from my car. And he has tears in my eyes. He says, I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't have anything here. The only backup generator we have is enough to power the common areas just for safety. And he goes, that's why you see the lights right there. It's that. And he goes, I don't even have any way of getting a hold of my family. It was so raw. And he goes, I don't know if my family's okay, ma'am. And it's like he was just there by himself. He was just a security guard. He was there by himself, and just our exchange, you could see he was desperate just for the same thing I was. Just like, do you have some way of communicating? He goes, we have nothing here. And he goes, I'm not even supposed to be working right now. I'm here because I can't go home. And I go, do we have perishables? Do you have like ice or anything? He goes, we have nothing. He goes, it's bad. And I was just like, I am so sorry. Is there anything I could bring you? Is there? And he was like, no, ma'am. I need to find out if my family's okay. Because I'm just waiting. And he goes, there's several of us here. And I go, well, what about for you guys that can't go home? And he goes, they've opened up the extra rooms, like the rooms that were vacant for the employees to stay until we're able to go home. And I was like, well, that is fantastic. I'm glad that at least they have a spot for you. And he was like, we all just want to know if our families are okay because we can't get a hold of them. And it's just like gut-wrenching. It's gut-wrenching. How do you have a multi-billion-dollar resort there and you don't have a way to get anything? There's no communication.
And especially in this case, Hawaii is an area where there's a lot of winds, possible tsunamis,
Earthquakes.
Why can you not be prepared for the hypotheticals?
That was what I left with. I was like, how does this happen? How do you not have any sort of emergency preparedness to communicate? I mean, just the fact of communication. It was days. We were days from leaving the island when people were starting to get on boats and come across from Kihei, and brought those Starlink so that people could communicate. It was days. I mean, like we're talking, I think it was probably close to a week before there was actual, and you couldn't use it. You could only use it for phone calls because it uses a lot of data or what have you. You could only use it for phone calls. But it was like, why does it take almost a week for them?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know how close you are to other islands? Do you know how close? I mean, even Kihei was fine. You have Costco. You have all of that over there. It took almost 7 to 10 days to get supplies, just basic necessities, drinking water. Yeah. There's so much that I don't understand, and I don't know that even if I knew what was going on, if I even would understand why.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I don't understand it.
The official story, the official story does not make any sense.
No, it doesn't at all. And even the cutting of power to those power lines, it was like, oh well, we don't want the power for the hotels, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Are they going to utilize all the water?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe don't open it up the whole way. You leave a certain amount of water coming in still because it's still needed, right?
I mean, you got to have some sort of preparedness for thought process because these things are going to happen. I mean, you're on an island.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Especially during peak season.
I mean, I think this kind of, if anything, it kind of shows the lack of, with everything that we have seen so far, and how all these things are starting to happen more often than not, we see how unprepared the government is for any kind of situation.
Yep.
With anything that happens. I mean, we're spending all these tax dollars that is being given to the government, and they still not prepare for anything that happens.
It makes you think that I think they keep showing time and time again the priority of what they set up and what they prioritize as their most important things is based on greed and money for them, and whatever underlying reason is, but it always comes back to beneficial on their part.
on their
It's not
part.
for us. It's not for the people that are hurting, that lost their businesses, that lost their homes, that lost their family members. Not for them.
Right.
It's not for the babies that didn't have formula. I'm talking about these. There were so many instances where there was no formula, there was no diapers. These people couldn't go home. What are they supposed to do? Like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That should never happen.
Yeah.
And why wasn't anybody or anything set up for these people? I mean, these people pay taxes. These people, we vote, we have government in place, but they're being treated like, this is like a third world country.
Yeah.
It's not.
And that's exactly it, right? Like if anything like that was to ever happen anywhere, I think in the United States, this is going to be the exact same thing. We're going to turn into a freaking into a third world country, like that, right?
Yep.
Because there's not all these preparations in place for any kind of disaster. They make you believe that they are, and we would assume that they are, right? Because that's what we pay in our taxes for, is like for them to keep us
The
protected.
first day and a half, I thought there were. I was like, oh, we'll just wait. Something's going to come up. They'll have a plan in place
the
for
big
us.
city mentality, right? We come like, everything should be fine. I mean, we don't have to worry about anything. But as you mentioned, as time started passing by, you realize like, holy fuck, it's not.
Yeah.
And once again, like if it was to happen here, an earthquake in California, which is we're prone to that, are they really prepared for that? I guess we're gonna have to find out until it happens, right? Leisha, thank you for sharing your story, sweetie.
Of course.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Taking the time of the day and stopping by and sharing all of this with everyone.
Of course.
And I really appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.